The girl, who only didn't get a perfect score on her exam, in front of the entire class, took off her skirt. Strangely enough, none of the classmates seemed to notice. When George snapped out of it, he was shocked to find that the events from just a few minutes ago were repeating themselves. His score was still 52, but the only difference was that Nina, who had originally scored 98, now had a perfect 100. This unbelievable situation left George stunned. As the bell rang for the end of class, the more George thought about it, the stranger it seemed. He remembered clearly seeing Nina take off her clothes. Earlier, during lunch break, George had sneaked into the sports storage room and accidentally stumbled upon Nina changing. After remembering all the bizarre events, George decided to confront Nina. When George asked Nina about it, she instantly became defensive. Her expression changed, and she immediately demanded to know who else he had told about her secret. After George reassured her that he hadn't told anyone, Nina breathed a sigh of relief. But the next moment, she pinned George against the wall. Nina explained that she had a unique and outrageous superpower called the unblemished girl before touched. As long as she removed her intimate clothing, she could erase any event that had happened. However, there were two drawbacks to this ability. First, the clothes she took off would disappear, and second, anyone who had seen her body would retain memories of what had occurred. Nina was quite satisfied with this ability, as it allowed her to be the best in both academics and sports, no matter what she did. She first discovered this power when she was in 5th grade. Back then, she already dominated everyone in sports. But once, during a sports meet, she had a stomach upset and ended up second instead of first. Upset, she had an accident and wet her pants. Unknowingly, when she took off the dirty clothes, she found herself miraculously in first place. Hearing all this, George was terrified and wanted to leave immediately. But Nina didn't want to let him off so easily. The next moment, she forcibly made George push her down and then screamed that he was harassing her. Within 2.5 minutes, a group of classmates rushed in, and even a girl had called the police. Thanks to Nina's acting skills, George was about to be labeled as a pervert and thrown in jail for something he didn't do. Just as he was about to give up, Nina hinted that perhaps George wanted to make everything disappear like it never happened. Realizing his only way out, George reluctantly agreed, and thus, he became Nina's personal mobile wardrobe. The next morning, George woke up to a selfie from Nina, but he couldn't be happy about it. The seemingly pure and innocent Nina secretly took off her clothes in front of the entire class. As Nina's wardrobe, George had to carry around a large bag of Nina's intimate clothing and, whenever she activated her ability, help her change her clothes no matter the time or place, even during class. George was embarrassed by the idea of her changing in front of others and tried to convince Nina to find a more private spot. However, Nina, obsessed with perfection to the point of obsession, explained that if she waited until after class, she could only activate her ability once. So, George had to be on call at all times. Nina, seeing that George wasn't cooperating, suddenly changed her approach and claimed that even she, who frequently used her ability, felt embarrassed to expose her secret. She said George was the only one she could rely on. But George saw through her plan and refused. The class then began, and the teacher called on Nina to recite a passage. She performed flawlessly. However, just as she finished, a breeze suddenly blew through the room. Nina seemed to get another idea, and decided to do it all over again. As soon as she spoke, she activated her time rewind ability. This time, when she was called on, she waited a moment and, as the breeze blew, began speaking again. It was as if Nina had unlocked a realm, instantly transporting everyone back to the Warring States period from 100 years ago.